Are you struggling to decide which social media marketing channels to focus on for your small business? Or even worse, are you spreading yourself thin, trying to do 4 or 5 or more social media channels, putting your content everywhere because you heard that you're supposed to be visible and be everywhere all the time? That is overwhelming and stressful and also not effective. I'm Julie Selby with Sandy Social Marketing Training, and in this presentation, I'm going to do a deep dive into the top social media channels used for business in Canada. So this is specifically a presentation for small business owners who are based in Canada, or if you're a business who wants to sell to Canadian consumers, this would be a relevant presentation to you as well. Also, if you are based in the US, I do serve with my social media training business. I do serve clients in the US and Canada, and I can tell you that the numbers are often fairly similar, not always, but often similar to Canadian statistics. So you may find some value from this presentation if you are based in the US as well. For those who don't know me yet, my name's Julie Selby. I have been teaching digital marketing, social media marketing to small business owners for many, many years. I have taught since about 2010. I was a social media marketing instructor at our local community college here in Victoria, BC, where I'm based, called Camosun College. I taught for about 7 years there. And I have been a guest speaker for many organizations, all of our local higher learning institutes, as well as, you know, Etsy Canada, the Royal Bank of Canada, Rogers Communications, etc. So I've done lots of speaking engagements. I don't do that as much anymore. And I have my education. I have a Bachelor of Commerce degree, a business degree from my hometown university, University of Victoria, also known as UVic. And my background, my professional background, was in sales and marketing. So as a salesperson who ended up in social media marketing, I could see the benefit and the power of social media for connecting you with your audience. But my background is still always sales. So my frame of reference is always how can we use social media marketing to support your professional and business goals. Today in this presentation, we're going to cover the demographics and pros and cons of the top social media marketing channels relevant to small business in Canada to help you decide which channels to focus your time and energy on to reach your ideal audience and support your business goals for 2026. How do you choose your social media channels? I wish there was an easy way for me to say, oh, you're a life coach. You should do this and this and this. Or you're a realtor. These are the channels you should be on, because it depends on a number of factors in terms of which social channels are going to be a fit for you. Here are some things to consider. Where can you connect with your ideal audience where you enjoy to be? So if you look at the graph here, we want to look for that overlap where your audience hangs out online, where you also enjoy hanging out online and and go to those places. Because if you are not enjoying at all doing social media marketing, you're not going to do it. You're not going to want to spend time doing it. So look for the overlap for the places where they are, where you enjoy being. Also, where do you already have followers or friends or subscribers built up? That's a consideration as well. If you've built a significant amount of connections on LinkedIn, then, that might be one you might consider for your mix, for example. Also, you have to consider, what are your strengths? What type of content can you create? Are you willing to do speaking to the camera videos? Is it going to be a video first content strategy to support your social media marketing? Or is that not your jam at all? You don't want to be on video. You prefer to write. Do you prefer to write articles, for example? Or are you someone that might prefer, you don't want to write long articles, but you might prefer to engage in a more community chat based format? So there are a variety of considerations when looking at which social media channels will be a fit for you. My biggest time management tip is to narrow down to focus on 2 social media channels. Now, I know this is challenging. I know also many other social media specialists, experts, suggest focusing on just one channel. Some even suggest focusing on one content type, like written content or video, for example. I do not recommend that. I think you can create whatever content you want, but I do think you should have 2 social media channels. I don't think it's a good idea to have all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. And Also, you might consider to have often we're gonna use a meta tool like a Facebook or an Instagram. You might consider having a tool that's in the meta basket as well as another tool. So, for example, are you gonna use Facebook and YouTube? Or maybe YouTube and Instagram. So, just a consideration. With that said, I know that Facebook and Instagram might be a perfect fit for many small business owners. So, you might choose to have two particular eggs in your marketing basket. So, think about that as we go through the presentation here, because I'm going to share a lot of information on a lot of channels, but I want you to think about which two channels you could focus your time and energy on and go more deep with people. When I say go more deep, I mean not only building closer relationships with the people that are on those platforms, but fully taking advantage of all the features and benefits of these platforms. There are so many different post types, there are so many different ways you can build relationships with people. So I'm going to suggest you choose the two channels and go deeper on those two channels. So let's dive in to all the statistics, data information. So just I want to preface this as I show you all this information here with the fact that this information for Canada, I did the best I could to find information that was in 2025, late 2025, even, because we're just at the time of this recording, it's January 2026. So this is the most current information I could find. Also, it comes from a variety of sources. So the numbers are imperfect. They might not look perfect. And I've got different information sometimes for some of the different social channels. So when we're looking at the demographics, keep in mind some of the information are from organizations who did research studies where maybe the sample size was they surveyed 1,500 people or they surveyed 2,200 people or more. Some of the information also comes from people who are citing the advertising platforms on the social channels themselves. So, for example, Facebook says these are the people you can reach, or TikTok says these are the people you could reach in these age range categories. So, again, take this data with a grain of salt because it does come from a variety of sources. So let's start here with this is some information from eMarketer. And I've compared a couple of charts from April 2024 through May 2025. So Facebook, according to eMarketer, Facebook is not growing much in Canada, but Instagram is still growing. Surprisingly, Instagram growth continues despite challenges that we've had in Canada. The Canadian government a while back forced government employees to not have they didn't allow them to have TikTok on their phone, no government phones. As well, the privacy commissioner was doing some studies on, or some investigations rather, I should say, into TikTok and its privacy practices, particularly around collecting information on children. Also, the government of Canada forced TikTok to shut down its Canadian office. So the Canadian government has not been particularly friendly to TikTok. Plus, if you add that with everything going on in the US, and it potentially being sold to a new US-based company. There's been a lot going on with TikTok. But it's still, according to eMarketer, still continued to grow in Canada. YouTube is not shown on this. YouTube, LinkedIn, and Reddit are not shown on this particular chart. So again, take that with a grain of salt. As of May 2025 from eMarketer, it's showing Facebook and Instagram as the number 1 and 2 social platforms. It's showing TikTok as the third, which is interesting. I don't know if it's actually in actuality that popular in Canada to be the third most popular platform. It notes that X, or formerly known as Twitter, has also lost followers in Canada. So it says TikTok and X have swapped position in the rankings. It's also showing Snapchat and Pinterest as kind of just continuing along as they were. In the next slide here, this is any slides like this that have the sort of the dark background with a orange color are from Data Reportal, which is an awesome source of social media demographic information. They've got global social information as well as by country. So this is much of this in this presentation is there from their Canada report, which I've got some reference links on the slides. So after the presentation, let me know in the comments if you want a copy of the slides. I will ask you or invite you to join my email list, and I'll be glad to give you a free copy of the presentation slides, the PDF document. So I've noted on this slide here the top social channels for Canada, which are essentially Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Reddit, Pinterest, and X, also known as Twitter. Yes, it is still relevant in Canada. So this is internet users age 16 or older who say they have used the platform in at least the last month. And you can see here, this particular slide does also include some of the private messaging apps like Messenger, WhatsApp, etc. And I'm not going to include that here. I will mention more on that later, but I would consider Messenger as a part of Facebook, for example. And WhatsApp is a bit of a different animal. Here's another graph from Data Reportal that says they were asked, what is your favorite social media platform? Like if you could only list one as your favorite social media platform. And the top three that are shown here are Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. But YouTube's not shown in this chart, so I'm kind of surprised YouTube was left off of this chart because that is my personal favorite, and I'm based in Canada as YouTube, so I'm not sure why that was not included here. The next slide here shows web traffic referrals from social media. So, which channels drive traffic to your website or your event page or your email sign up, etc. So, we can see, at least from this particular source, it shows Facebook still dominates in terms of driving web traffic. I know we talk a lot about this zero click trend and not that link posts don't get any traction anymore or send people off the platform. But there are other ways. Of course, we have links in our bio. Facebook still does drive some traffic. I would say certainly not what it used to. X is listed here. X, also known as Twitter. Pinterest is still up there for potentially driving traffic. And also Instagram. And I was kind of surprised to see YouTube down here below Instagram as not driving any traffic, because I think YouTube can be a good source of traffic as well. Reddit, that's a tricky one, and LinkedIn is listed here as well. The next slide here is from two totally different sources. One on the left here is from the Social Media Lab based in Toronto. This was back from May 2025. And again, if you look at this graph, they're comparing the green at the top here was data in 2025. And there you go. This shows here this particular survey surveyed 1,500 Canadians, and it compares it to surveys they've done 2022, 2020, and 2017. So you can kind of see from this particular study what the change is over time in the different social platforms. So they're showing Facebook as first, then YouTube, Instagram, X/Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Snapchat, TikTok, and Reddit as the top channels in Canada. This one here on the right, and by the way, the link for this graph, I've got the arrow to it right here, is here. And then this graph on the right-hand side is a totally different source, and I have more information and a link to it on the next slide. But you can see the order they put it in was Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, X, Reddit, and Pinterest. So let's pop over to the next slide here. This is another graph from Environics research from February 2025. And this one is really helpful because it breaks out Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, X, Reddit, and Pinterest by generation. So you can look here and see the blue color. So the first one on the left, the dark sort of purplish color, is total. Boomers, here is the blue. Gen X is the green. Millennials is the red. And then another color of blue here for Gen Z. So you can see that Facebook and YouTube serve more of the boomers and Gen X, where Instagram, you can see a large spike here in the Gen X and millennials. LinkedIn, a little bit more even here, as well as TikTok showing more millennial and Gen X users, as well as X, as well as Reddit, etc. So I know it's very hard to see because this graph's super tiny. So what I've done here is I've included the link to this article that shows their data research, and it has an interactive graph and a bunch of more information. So you might want to go explore that for yourself to see the interactive graph with the different demographics. Here's another one. This is from eMarketer that shows the top social channels for Gen Z. Their first choice is Instagram, then TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, interestingly, and Pinterest. So again, I didn't put the link for this particular eMarketer report that came out in May of 2025. I follow a gentleman named Paul Briggs on LinkedIn, and I recommend you follow him if you're in Canada and you're a data nerd like me and you want to get the latest information. So he does tend to share some information free from his reports and sometimes some graphs. But this some of the information from the eMarketer report. This was a gated or paid report, so I didn't put the link to this particular report, but again, I'm glad to share it if that's of interest. So let's dive into each social channel. So for kind of the top social channels in Canada, I'm going to go into quite a bit of detail, quite a deep dive here, and then I will mention some of the niche social channels and just touch on those more briefly. So this will get a cup of tea, get a cup of coffee, and let's dive in here. So Facebook is probably the one. It's been around forever. We know the most. Dominates in Canada. 71% of users use it daily. Approximately half men and women. I wanted to mention. I made a note question mark here to remind myself. If I don't mention for each of these social channels, most of the channels I'll talk about here today are roughly half men and women. There are a few specific examples that women or lean towards women or lean towards men, more male users. So I will mention that on the slide itself, but if I don't mention it, I'm going to just let you know that it's approximately half and half gender-wise. So we have all ages on Facebook. We've got the largest user groups in Canada are age 25 to 34 years old, 35 to 44 years old. It is currently the top platform for boomers, Gen X, and millennials, and not as popular with Gen Z. And it is shifting. It has historically been for staying in touch with friends and family. It certainly is still that, but they are attempting to shift it more to an interest based algorithm to serve us content Facebook thinks we might be interested in because they're trying to keep us engaged and encourage us to spend more time on the platform versus just being a friends and family network anymore. Most of us are not posting enough anymore, is the problem, for a variety of reasons, which I won't get into, but they're encouraging creators, they're encouraging all kind of content on the platform, and they're trying to serve us content they think we might be interested in to keep us spending more time on the platform and engaging on the platform. So that's the shift right now. This is again a graph from Data Reportal. This is based on the advertising information that comes from Facebook. So again, you can see there are the two sort of 25 to 34, 35 to 44. But again, you can still see a fair amount of folks in sort of the 45 plus age ranges here. So for example, I work with women business owners, 45 plus. You can see there's a good amount of women age 45, 40 plus on the platform. So it is one of my top platforms that I use for building relationships with my audience. Pros and cons of Facebook. It's got a large active audience, broad range of ages, still has really super useful features like groups. Facebook groups kind of dominate for community networking. There's a group for everything. My sister just got a hamster for one of her kids, and there was a group for hamsters that a friend recommended to me, and it's been a godsend, she said, in terms of helping them get started with their first hamster. But you have any kind of health issue, you have any kind of topic interest. If you're a woman business owner and you are looking for guests for your podcast, or you want to be a guest on a podcast, there's a group for that. If you want to find out what's going on in your local neighborhood, there's a group for that. So groups just dominate. There are events on Facebook as well, which are really useful for finding out what's going on in your town or your city. Also, Facebook Marketplace, where people sell stuff, that's still very popular. And of course, advertising. It's still one of the platforms that has the most detailed targeted advertising that's reasonably affordable. There is a bit of a learning curve, but as a business owner, you can get started fairly easily for a reasonable price to target people. So if you're not getting the reach you want, or if your organic reach of your content is not targeting the right people, so for example, people in your town, if you're a local business, then you can do paid advertising to reach people in your postal code who might have interest in your products or services. It has verification to prove you're a real person. So that unfortunately they're charging $15 a month for that, but there is a way, because I think as we go forward in the online world, there's so much AI, there's so many bots online, it will become a real issue to be able to tell who's a real person and who's not a real person. So I think that's very interesting to me, platforms that have a verification process that you'd be able to trust. There'll be more trust on platforms where we can verify who we are. So when I say verify, what that means is you must give your government identification to Facebook. You need to sign up for this it's called Meta Verified. You sign up, You provide your government identification, you prove who you are, your name on your Facebook profile has to match your ID, and then you have a little blue check mark like this that's beside your profile, so other people will know that you are who you say you are, okay? I don't have Meta Verified, I don't wanna pay for that at this time, but who knows, maybe I will in the future. So Facebook is still super useful for networking if your ideal clients are there, especially groups. It can certainly still drive some traffic to your website, email sign up, event, etc. New potential visibility in generative AI chat or large language model tools. Now, I haven't seen this personally. I haven't seen Facebook posts lately show up in search so much. Also, sometimes you can't see things if you're not, like, logged into Facebook. So that can be frustrating as well because you'll go to look at something if it does show up in search and you go to click on it, and if you're not logged into Facebook on your computer, it'll encourage you to log into Facebook. If you don't have a Facebook account, that's not ideal, but some people are reporting that Facebook content is showing up in when I say AI chat, I mean like ChatGPT and other chat tools or large language models in the search, and becoming more and more important because more and more consumers are using ChatGPT and other AI search tools. Facebook has multiple content formats, so a lot of flexibility when it comes to your creativity. You can do text only posts, you can even write I follow one politics and she's a historian, a U.S. historian and politics expert, and she writes very long updates, just text only updates, and they're easy to consume, easy to read. So you could literally blog on Facebook if you want. Of course, they've also got you can do images, you can do videos, long videos, even long, right? Old school horizontal videos. You can do reels, which are the shorter vertical videos. Of course, Facebook is calling all videos reels now, just so you know. We've got the disappearing 24-hour stories. You can do polls, you can do GIFs, the moving picture, joke pictures, live video, etc. So there's lots of formats on Facebook, making it very flexible. Cons: the Gen Z and younger millennials are less active on the platform. So again, if that's who you're targeting, it might not be the best platform for you. Also, Facebook fatigue is a real thing. It can be noisy and emotionally draining. There can be lots of spam. Sometimes there are impersonation accounts where someone steals your photo and makes a profile and tries to friend all your friends, and you got to deal with reporting that. So, plus ads. There's so many ads. Sometimes it's worse than others with the advertisements. Also, sometimes people get into political conversations, and that can be draining. So, I would say less people are sharing content here, and some people are feeling, fatigued of Facebook. The other con of Facebook is it's more of a pay to play platform these days, in terms of we just, from a business page, we really don't get much free reach any longer. And so more and more people are shifting to posting from their personal accounts on Facebook. With that said, I still think the Facebook business page has its place, particularly if you want to gather reviews or if you want to do some more serious advertising. Then the business page is the way to go here. Let's talk about YouTube. YouTube use has grown in Canada. It's catching up to Facebook. 66% of users use it daily. It has all ages. And interestingly, according to the ad tools, it has the largest user group in Canada, age 65 plus. So the top platform for boomers, which is I found very interesting. Canadians love YouTube. You can still get news there and current events, unlike Facebook and Instagram. For those that aren't familiar, the government of Canada tried to insist that Facebook pay them some money for their news publishers. Australia had done so successfully first. Australia was the first country to do so. And then Canada tried it, and Facebook decided, nope, we're not going to go down this road, because then every country is going to be asking us to pay their news sites. So they basically said no to Canada, which is why you do not see any news on Canada or on Facebook or Instagram in Canada whatsoever. Meta does have another platform called Threads, which is their Twitter competitor, and Threads does seem to allow news, but for that reason, there's no news on Facebook and Instagram in Canada, but there still is on YouTube. And I think many news sites tried to, for a while, have their video content on their own websites, and it just they just gave up. They eventually just gave up. I'm assuming they didn't get the reach or the views they wanted, and they just all started putting their content back on YouTube, which is very convenient. So my Check 6 local news, all the CBC, the national news, CTV news, like any Canadian news you wanna get is there, plus global news. You can get all the US news. There are English-speaking channels from around the world. So I follow English-speaking news from Germany and France and India, and I just find it fascinating to get other perspectives. So clearly YouTube's my favorite platform, you can tell, right? Also, it's the best $15 I spend every month. It's, to get YouTube ad free. So Facebook doesn't even have that kind of option where you could pay a monthly fee. Ironically, you can pay a monthly fee to get a stupid blue check mark beside your name. I shouldn't be so down on Meta Verified. Meta Verified does provide some other benefits, including some limited access to customer service. So anyway, but still there's nothing you can pay for to not have ads on Facebook, unfortunately. But YouTube, you can. I don't see a single ad on YouTube. I listen to music, I watch documentaries, I watch news, I watch marketing updates, I watch all kind of content on YouTube with no ads, and I just love it. And then another point, you can potentially earn money for your content. Now, I'll preface that by saying all the platforms have some version of potentially earning money for your content, but the barriers to entry are much higher. So, Facebook, for example, you have to have, I believe, 10,000 followers on your personal digital creator profile or on your Facebook business page to even get into that program where you might be able to earn money. On YouTube, you need only it's down to the first level is down to 500 subscribers. 1,000 subscribers is kind of the main one you wanna get to actually earn money from having ads placed on your content, and you need, again, the first level is 3,000 watch hours, and the next level, like the kind of the real program is, 4,000 watch hours. So not super easy to get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours necessarily. That could take time. It might take you 2 years and a couple hundred videos, but you might get lucky and it might happen faster. There are people that have been talking recently of getting monetized on YouTube within 6 months. They have a video that takes off and gets them to that subscriber level and that watch time count. So, it is a platform where the barrier to entry is a little bit lower. So again, I wanna manage your expectations around that. It's not easy to get into the YouTube Partner Program, but it is possible. So here is from YouTube's advertising platform. One more thing I wanna mention about YouTube as well, you can also actually, you know what? I think I have it on the next slide, so I'll wait on that. So you can see again, I thought this was really interesting. Uh, women 65 women boomers are rocking on are enjoying YouTube. So I'm a 50 plus lady myself. I probably fall more in this category over here. But, very interesting to see all ages on YouTube in Canada, and it's growing. And so let's just go over the pros and cons of YouTube. YouTube, it has a large, broad audience. With that said, many people also just consume content, and not everybody engages. So we do have that issue of you can watch YouTube, not logged into YouTube. You don't have to be logged in. So, there's a great benefit in that. So, for example, if you wanna, send out a video in your email newsletter, you can put your video on your YouTube channel, and you can put the link in your email newsletter, and if someone's not even on social media, if they don't have a YouTube account, they'll still be able to click that link and watch the video. But with that said, if someone's watching content on YouTube and not logged in, then they don't have any way to engage with you. So they can't become a subscriber, they can't like your content, they can't comment on your content, etc. So that's something to keep in mind. I know in the past it was somewhere around 30% of Canadians actually had a YouTube channel and were logged in, but I would guess that's much higher than that, a much higher number now. Just long-term discoverability via keywords. So videos can keep getting views for years, so a much longer shelf life than some of the other social channels. Facebook, I don't know if I touched on that, but certainly on Facebook, the shelf life is about a week, maybe more if you get shares, where your content would still be getting, you post something on Facebook and it continues to get views for about a week, week and a half, maybe 2. If someone starts sharing your stuff, maybe you get more views. So maybe 2 weeks or less on Facebook versus YouTube, you could still have people viewing your content months or even potentially years down the road. And even to the point where on my YouTube channel, some of my videos that I posted ages ago seem to get traction and get picked up, and now they're getting views. So go figure. So it's a great place to build trust. And also, this is a big one I think is very interesting. And I personally have experienced this new potential visibility in generative AI, chat, and large language model tools. So I have actually had leads from local people saying they were looking for a social media coach in Victoria, BC, and they found me via ChatGPT. So my guess, I don't have a ton of content on my website. So my guess is how that's happening is because I've been doing videos consistently on YouTube. And of course, I'm consistent on my other social channels as well. So that might help too. You can still drive some traffic to your site, email, sign up event, etc. And you can also do some targeted ads. So there is a function called YouTube Promote. So YouTube is owned by Google. So in the past, you would have had to do YouTube video advertising through the Google advertising platform. Not my area of expertise, but from what I understand now, they have another function called YouTube Promote that is easier to use, where once you set it up in your Google Ads account and you put in your information, you'll be able to just click the promote button on your content. So I'm guessing it's similar to that kind of boost post button on Facebook and Instagram. So they're trying to make it a little bit easier for small business owners to do advertising. And again, you can target I would say even in 2025, they've added more features to be able to target people by location, by gender, and more recently by interest, which is really cool. So it's nice to see them making some improvements to that program. I will mention that if your goal is to get monetized as a YouTube partner, then any views or subscribers you get from your advertising do not count towards your goal of getting to monetize in the partner program. But as a small business owner, you might not care about that, and you might be quite happy to reach more people in your local community or in Canada, for example. Because that's one thing about organic content, you don't have control of who you're reaching. It's a beautiful thing to get free organic reach, but again, if you're wanting to reach specifically people in Canada, for example, and that's not happening with your content, then you could use ads to reach them that way. There are multiple formats, multiple content formats, but I will say this is certainly a video first platform. So if you're not intending to do regular video, then probably YouTube is not going to be the right channel for you. I will tell you, and they have all kinds of video. You can do long, more traditional horizontal video. They have shorts, YouTube shorts, which are the short vertical video up to 3 minutes long. They have live video. They're encouraging podcasts now. The big trend is video podcasts. And at least in the US, YouTube has become the top place for podcast listening. I'm not sure about Canada, but certainly people are listening to podcasts on YouTube in Canada. And community posts is relatively new. So community posts is all other post types. So you can now, and I would say that is not a brand new feature, but you used to have a high level of subscribers in order to even access that feature. And now it's available to everybody. So even small channels with no followers can start doing community posts. So I think it's really not growing up, but growing into a strong competitor for Facebook. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes over time. So you can do text only posts, short or long. You can do image posts, and it's got a nice carousel format. I believe it's up to 10 images there. You can do a poll, you can do a quiz, you can do a GIF image. So lots of different types, and certainly that's something I want to experiment with more this year is doing more community posts, because one of the things I see people doing with community posts is putting an image and putting a little description and linking to a previous YouTube video, therefore potentially getting more traction for existing video content that they've already created. So now let's get to the cons. If YouTube is so amazing, why am I, what's the downside of YouTube? It can take a long time to get traction here. So I mentioned you might have to make, potentially up to a couple hundred videos and spend some time, a couple of years to get monetized here. You can certainly get traction much faster. That's my favorite hobby right now, is looking to see what shows up in my suggested videos in YouTube and seeing when I'm served small creators, which I am on a regular basis. than going to their channel and looking to see how many videos they have versus how many subscribers they have versus how many views they have on their videos, which is really interesting. Also, not the best place for immediate networking. So I mentioned that issue of people being logged out of YouTube watching content, so you can't get at them to network with them if you don't have any way to talk to them. Also, there are currently no private messages. There were years ago private messages on YouTube, but they killed that feature for child safety reasons. With that said, I have heard lately, again, this is January 2026 is the time of this recording, I have heard that they might be bringing back private messages to YouTube, but that they would do the verification. So you'd have to kind of show your face, show you who you are, verify that you're of a certain age in order to get access to that feature. So who knows if or when that will come to pass. Also, the other con, again, about really any social channel, but especially YouTube, because you really need to do consistent, regular videos to do this channel, is it's time consuming. Plus, it's also time consuming to optimize, research what keywords might be relevant, and write your titles, write your descriptions for your videos, and create your thumbnail image. So, the thumbnail image is the still image that goes on the video. So, when people are scrolling through the different videos, that helps catch their eye and they decide if they want to click on your video and watch or not, based potentially on the quality of your thumbnails. So, that's a lot of time and energy to create video as well as do the keyword research and then optimize all your videos. So, pros and cons of YouTube. For service professionals, it's a great place to build trust if you're willing to do speaking to the camera videos. The audience is very open to how to educational content and point of view. POV, they call it, or what's your point of view or your opinion on things, also known as thought leadership content. While it can take a long time to get traction on YouTube, think about it more like building a content library that compounds over time. So that's another interesting thing for me at my stage. I still have, 300 some odd subscribers and I'm growing finally. But using features like adding the end caps on some of the videos. So if I've mentioned another video that would be good for someone to watch, I can now link it with an end cap on the end of that video and they might click and watch more of my content. So it happens over time that as you draw more people into your channel, they watch more and more of your video content and it compounds over time. I'm also using Instagram in combination with YouTube at this time because there is there's no private message feature. In my about section in my YouTube channel, I invite people to send me a private message there if they want to connect or if they have any questions they don't want to ask publicly. And I have had a number of people starting to see more and more people follow me on my Instagram and then message me privately over there saying, I really appreciate your content and been wanting to do videos for a long time and that kind of thing. So that's pretty cool. But it would be more ideal. Before I leave here, I should also mention that you can certainly network on YouTube on comments on any social media channel. If there's a place for comments and you can find where your audience is hanging out online. So if you're a spiritual coach, for example, there is a Hay House YouTube channel and you can look there to see what conversations are happening. And, if you put a thoughtful comment on a community conversation that's happening on a particular video, that could potentially allow people to discover you or you to build relationships with people. You could follow them. They could subscribe to you or you could subscribe to them if you want. They could subscribe to you. But other than comments, the networking opportunity is quite limited. There we go with Instagram. Use has grown in Canada. 66% of users use the platform daily. The largest user group in Canada is age 25 to 34 years. Top platform for millennials and Gen Z. Less popular with boomers and Gen X, but use is consistently growing in Canada, especially in the age 45 to 54. And I can tell you from my personal experience, that's what I teach a lot of is Instagram. People that have been on Facebook for quite a while and they're wanting to get started on Instagram. So a lot of what I teach. And here they are shifting from what you were following to more interest-based content or recommended content. So they're taking a cue from TikTok's excellent algorithm and serving us more interest-based content. That can be quite annoying for people. Be aware that there is still a chronological or following feed in your Instagram. So if you go into your Instagram app on mobile, on the home tab, and you tap on the Instagram logo in the top left, you can click on following, and there is still a chronological feed. With that said, most people don't know that that's even there. I hear people all the time complain that they took away the chronological feed. So, chronological just meaning whatever you're following, whatever content they share, it's just going to serve you that content, right? There will still be ads there, potentially, although I see less ads there. So, but your main home feed now, you're probably noticing there's a lot of junk in there, especially as they're getting better and better, I think, at finding stuff that I'm interested in. And matter of fact, I should mention they've just rolled out a new feature even that allows you to have some more control of your algorithm by telling Instagram what topics you're interested in. That's quite new at this time. So I haven't even played with that myself, but they do want to get better and they do want to, again, same idea. They're wanting to serve you content you're interested in to keep you engaged on the platform. Though I will say Instagram has always been more of an interest based platform versus not as much friends and family. Though I do see folks from my age range joining Instagram just to follow, the nieces, nephews, grandkids, that kind of thing. So, yeah. I wanted to mention that Instagram may have benefited from the uncertainty around TikTok in Canada, so that could be a contributing factor to its growth in Canada. Here is the advertising information. Again, this is from the Data Reportal report, but this is from Instagram's advertising platform. So you can see here again, age 25 to 34 is the kind of the top platform, and then once you get into the kind of the older generations, less use on this particular platform. But certainly we are still there. Many of us are still there. Pros and cons of Instagram. It's a great free tool for creating images and videos. Plus, it has all the fun music. So, really, the creative tools are awesome. One thing that I love about Instagram and why I teach it so much on my YouTube channel, how to use it, is because it allows you to create content, images, or video, and then you can download it to your phone without even posting it on Instagram. So, you can actually use it like a free creative tool. Of course, they would like you to post it on their platform. But how cool is that you can create content and download it to your phone and use it wherever you want. Use it on LinkedIn, use it on YouTube, use it on your Facebook, use it wherever you like. So that's pretty darn cool. And so again, if you want to learn more about using the creative tools of Instagram, I have tons of tutorials, step-by-step how-to tutorials on my YouTube channel. The audience here is more receptive to engaging with business. This has been historically a great platform for business to consumer brands. So if you sell, beauty, fashion, that all that kind of stuff, if you want to sell directly to consumers, that is a good platform for that. If you sell products, e-commerce, and also discoverability by keyword on the platform. So they've shifted over time sort of away from hashtags more to keywords. So you can still use hashtags on the platform. They are still somewhat relevant, but really they are taking keywords from all of the content, not just from your profile, but their Instagram search is taking content that you put in your captions on your Instagram posts, for example. And so you can potentially be discovered that way. Also, Instagram posts, I do see them showing up in Google search. So that could be you could potentially get found in Google search that way from your posts. It's very useful for networking if your ideal clients are there. It's a great platform for networking. You can there are they have 20 post type called 24-hour stories. They disappear after 24-hour stories, and they've got interactive features in the stories. Not only can people message you on any story you post, but they've got engaging like interactive stickers like ask me a question and quiz and a poll and that kind of thing. So there's all kinds of ways to use stories to interact with and engage your audience, which can help build the relationship. And these stories typically go to people who are already following you. It's a great way to support your sales as well. I do have a full step-by-step tutorial on Instagram stories on my YouTube channel. So let me know if that's of interest and I can share the link to that lesson, that tutorial. Also, they have private messages on Instagram, as I've previously mentioned. So, again, great for building relationships. You can also share links in private messages on Instagram, which is very useful for a business, and also broadcast channels for relationship building. So, once you get to 1,000 followers on your YouTube, on your Instagram account, Instagram profile, you can open up what's called a broadcast channel, which is a one to many communication tool. So it's not a group chat. Anybody can start a group chat, but the challenge with group chats is the more people you get in there, the more messy and busy it is. And if people aren't interested, they just leave. So a one to many broadcast channel is a very interesting way for businesses to potentially connect with their audience for those that are most interested. Okay. So you only need 1,000 followers to be able to get access to a broadcast channel for relationship building on Instagram for your most interested people. This is also an excellent platform for local business. Very easy with the location tags to find people near you. You can also, the followers of any public account or public. So any other business in your country, city, town, neighborhood, you can easily look to see who the followers are of that business. So if you're an artist, you could find people who like art in your community. If you are a local coffee shop, you can find people who follow other local businesses in your community. So really, really very useful for local business. Plus, of course, it's owned by Meta, aka Facebook. So you can do very highly targeted advertising to consumers as well on this platform. You can still potentially drive some traffic to your website, though it we often say link in bio. So many people will use, I think it's called ManyChat or tools like that, where they automate as soon as someone follows you, then you can pop a welcome with a link into their inbox. That's a fine line. I think you should be careful about that. But some people would say the more people you invite to join your email list, the more you're going to grow your email list. So yeah, so you can send links in the private messages, but also link in bio. So often, because we can't put a clickable link on a post on Instagram, we will often say, click the link in my bio, and you do have the opportunity to put links in your bio that might link to, again, your website, your event, your email sign up, etc. This platform is very visual or aesthetic focused. People care more about how it looks, though you don't need to make it look perfect. I think there's definitely that was in the past where you had to have things look too perfect. Plenty of popular accounts with lots of followers show up as they are, but there is certainly some aspect of, people care a little bit more here about what your media looks like. And we have also lots of formats. So very much like Facebook, we've got image posts, we've got a beautiful carousel style, multi-photo post, we've got vertical, and I should mention it's all vertical videos. So again, Meta is calling all videos reels these days. And in particular on Instagram, it's vertical videos only. They do not do the horizontal traditional full screen view on this platform, unfortunately. I wish they would bring that back. So you've got 24-hour disappearing stories. You can actually do short text posts. It's a weird little feature within stories that nobody ever uses, but they basically turn your text post into an image to share on a story. And of course, they have live video as well. And I want to say, I believe you do have to have 1,000 followers to be able to do live video. Now, cons. You really need to do videos to grow. Instagram recommends a minimum of about 10 videos a month, plus other post types potentially to grow. Some people would say you don't need to do carousel posts, you can just do only reels. But basically, Instagram says you need at least 10 videos or reels per month to grow. And that's a lot for a small business owner, right? So even if I can get a small business owner even posting just consistently every week on a channel, I'm pretty happy with that. Even if it was like, say, a video post one week, a carousel post the next, a video post, a carousel post. That's a lot for a small business owner trying to run your business and all the other things that you do. So you do have to do a fair amount of videos to grow. And once again, video is time consuming. And also, just as Facebook, the shelf life of content is shorter. Same thing, about a week, maybe a week and a half, maybe more. So what I tend to do on Instagram is I'll share a post and then I'll give it about a week to see when it stops kind of getting comments or likes. And then I share it to my stories, 24-hour stories, because that potentially helps it get a little bit more traction. So if someone shares it, then you might get some more traction, but it's got a short shelf life. Also, Instagram, it's wonderful because it's a public networking platform. Some people do have their accounts private, but many people don't. Many people have their accounts public, or if you request to follow them, if they can see you're like a real local business, they usually accept you and let you follow them. So anytime you can have that opportunity for networking, it's so useful. But with that public networking opportunity also comes a lot of spam. So you're going to have Elon Musk or Keanu Reeves follow you. There's all kinds of fake romance followers. There's fake charities. There's all kinds of spam on there, and impersonation accounts are especially the worst here. I've been impersonated again where they snatch your photo and set up an account because if you have a public account, they can see who all your followers are, and then they go and follow your followers and try and confuse them. And generally, it's about trying to get money or steal your private information. So we do have to deal with that. Typically, if you report most of your friends will let you know what's going on, and then if everybody goes and reports the account, usually those impersonation accounts get shut down quickly. And LinkedIn. So LinkedIn continues to grow modestly in Canada. I will say that LinkedIn says there are 27 million users in the country from LinkedIn, but I would guess those are not active users. Because I know plenty of people that have LinkedIn accounts, set them up at one point, it shows up in your search results for your name, but they're not active there. So not everybody is active there. So this was from another source, that were sources that like SimilarWeb and SEMrush who track visits to a website. So they both said around 11 million active monthly users in Canada. And then from a different source, only 26% use this platform daily. So I would say since LinkedIn, many years ago now, created a better mobile app, I'm seeing much more engagement on the platform and I'm seeing people use it. Used to be really a Monday through Friday during the business day platform, where now people use it at all times. So I see people using LinkedIn on the evenings and on the weekends and late nights and odd hours because there is a really good mobile app now. They did for a time have that vertical video feed in Canada for about it was such a tease because they had it for about 6 months or so, and then it disappeared. Rats. I still literally have one of my videos still gets traction, and I'm guessing it's because it's somehow getting put in that feed, but we just don't have that feed available to us in our country any longer. The largest user group on LinkedIn in Canada is age 25 to 34. It is certainly used by Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z, working age folks, not as ideal for reaching boomers age 55 plus who may be retired. The primary focus of this platform is for finding work, business networking, and following news, historically, a great platform for business to business relationships. This again from Data Reportal. You can see here the breakout. This is from LinkedIn's advertising data showing the different age groups. I'm going to go on to the next one here. Here are the pros and cons. It's a trustworthy and useful platform, but not known for entertainment and fun. I've never heard anyone say LinkedIn is my favorite social media channel. So it's a trusted platform. Also, they have LinkedIn News. So one thing that they've done, their misinformation is really a big problem on many of the social channels, whether it be Facebook or whether it be X, Twitter. LinkedIn has made a concerted effort to invest in news editors from around the world, including Canada. So they still have a trends section on desktop on LinkedIn, and there are people that are curating not only news, but also comments, insightful comments from users of the platform. So anytime you click on the trends on the sidebar of desktop version of LinkedIn, you're going to see really good, interesting information about news. Also, it's one of the places that I follow folks in my industry, so in online marketing, SEO, social media marketing, and they just share really great, really insightful information there. And also the other thing about LinkedIn is you can when someone likes something, so if some of these important influencers that I follow, interesting influencers I follow, if they like or comment on a post on LinkedIn, that often shows up in my feed as well. So I discover all kinds of interesting content around my industry, and that helps me keep up on my topic, keep up on the wonderful world of social media marketing, in addition to my other sources that I follow. So, oh, and then this is huge. This is huge. LinkedIn has free verification to prove that you're a real person. I think it's rolled out to all the countries now. I did it a while back for Canada, and you'll see it's not a blue check mark. It's sort of a little gray check mark like this, little black or gray check mark here. They you just provide in North America, it was through a site called Clear with a capital CLEAR. And so I had to provide. So again, this is a LinkedIn partner, and I had to provide my government ID to them, and then they verified my account. So if you look on my LinkedIn account, you'll see what the verification looks like. You can see when I got verified. So it shows that I'm a real person. So again, LinkedIn has always been the most trustworthy social platform. One of the reasons for this is they were smart enough to have many revenue streams from the beginning, where Facebook and Instagram, they relied primarily on money from ads. So they took money from anybody. They took money from Russian propagandists at one point. They also, even in the news this past months, took money from people that were doing fake AI videos, Justin Trudeau, fake Elon Musk selling cryptocurrency opportunities. So they supposedly took money from these because they're self-serve platforms, and apparently they're not closely monitoring who's doing ads there. Once they figure it out, they shut them down, but that's their main source of income. So they're very, very dependent on that. Of course, now they've rolled out Meta Verified, which is their paid service. So now they have another income stream, but really they're known for basically no customer service. That would be another thing I could have added to the cons for the Facebook slide. There's not any meaningful free customer service on Facebook. There is some customer service if you sign up for their $15 a month Meta Verified. But LinkedIn, however, not only can you get verified for free to show and get this check mark beside your profile, your name, to show that you're actually a real person on the platform, they have free customer service. So, and the reason they can do this is because they have other revenue streams. They have had paid LinkedIn all along. So you can do a paid account and it has more features. They have had LinkedIn recruiting solutions. They do have paid ads as well. They've got also the salesperson solution. So if you're a salesperson or a recruiter, you're doing heavy searches, you want access to more features. They've got all these different revenue streams on LinkedIn. Always have. So they're in a more diversified financial position. So that's my guess as to why they're able to offer free verification and free customer service. So I had a client that got hacked on her LinkedIn. We contacted free customer service within 24 hours. We had her account back. And I can't tell you how many other people have their Instagram or Facebook accounts hacked, and it's an absolute nightmare to try and get their accounts back if they ever even do get their accounts back. So I can't say enough about how much I appreciate LinkedIn for this. It is super useful for networking if your ideal clients are active there. Again, they may or may not be. So it's wonderful, more networking opportunity from a potential profile versus a company page. Not as easy to network from a company page. And I would say the reach seems to have dropped a fair amount from company pages as well, maybe heading in the direction of Facebook pages. Hard to say. You certainly can you can network in comments. And matter of fact, that's actually really encouraged on LinkedIn. They've actually added a new metric in their insights or their analytics to show you the impressions on your comments on other people's posts. And it's highly encouraged. They want to have robust, engaged conversations on the platform where they really are trying to encourage people to comment on other people's uh, posts on posts and articles. You can write articles also on LinkedIn. So they're very much encourage that. Um, you can certainly network in groups on LinkedIn. They do have groups, but I would say the groups can be a little bit hit and miss. Some of the groups, were set up a long time ago. So, for example, there are alumni groups. I went to Camosun College here in my local city, and then I did a university transfer to the University of Victoria. Both of those organizations have groups on LinkedIn, and they were, I would say, pretty good about screening who got into the group. But with that said, not much going on in there. Like nobody's kind of championing it. Nobody that's in the group seems to be that interested in networking in there. So other groups I've noticed, if the group admin is asleep at the wheel, there are the same kind of two or three people that are constantly promoting themselves. And even worse, sometimes even kind of spamming the group. So it really all depends on the group. There can be some awesome. I chose to build my private community group on LinkedIn for that reason, because of the trust factor, because access to customer service if you ever need it. So rather, I don't trust Facebook as much, so I chose not to build my private community on Facebook. I chose to build it on LinkedIn instead. You can also do targeted ads. I should also mention, in terms of networking, they have private messages. They have a great private message feature as well. So again, a wonderful way to build relationships with people by um, reaching out and seeing how they've been, chatting with them on private messages. So you can also do targeted ads by location, job title, seniority. So that's something that might be missing. So if you're a business targeting other businesses and you want to be able to target by their job title, that's not necessarily something you can do on, Facebook or Instagram advertising because it's very consumer geared. So you could do targeted ads by job title on LinkedIn as well as company size or skills, etc. So just different targeting. The ads are known to be quite a bit more expensive though than Facebook and Instagram ads. There is if you're someone that loves to write or you want to do a newsletter, they have a free article or blogging and newsletter feature that's super useful, very easy to use, super useful, can also potentially serve. So, say if you have someone in your life who's a young person, a student, they're wanting to they don't necessarily have the resources or interest in building a website at this time, literally having a free LinkedIn account would give them a free blog. They could literally start building a portfolio with their free blog on their LinkedIn account, which is pretty cool. The other thing that's very interesting, I'm seeing more about now is again, going back to that potential visibility in generative AI chat tools like ChatGPT or large language models with the written articles specifically. So this does not necessarily, from what I've read, from what I understand, this does not necessarily count for just posts on LinkedIn. This is with the written article function. So you have to write articles if you want to potentially show up. So I would also say if you have a blog on your website, I'm not really active on my blog at this time, but if you have a blog on your website, you might want to write that article and put it on your blog first, let it get indexed in Google, and then put that content on your LinkedIn article as well, just so that Google indexes that content, gives your website SEO credit for that content. But with that said, repurposing that article on LinkedIn in general is a more trusted site than your business website. So that may be why they're pulling potentially some information from articles on LinkedIn. But anybody with a LinkedIn profile can write an article. So you can write articles from a company page on LinkedIn, but I would say maybe probably best from a personal profile if you can. So again, it all depends on the business case. They have multiple, you can still potentially drive some traffic to your website. Just like many of the social channels, you tend to get less reach on posts where you put a link. But and I shouldn't say that because there was some data from Richard Vanderblom is one of the experts I follow on LinkedIn, and he goes deep on the algorithm and what type post types are working at this time. So I highly recommend you follow him. Let me know if you want the link to his profile. I'll be glad to share it. And he did say if you're sharing multiple helpful links that are just going to resources, then that doesn't necessarily reduce the reach of the post. But if you're just doing the same link over and over again to your email sign up, to your website, etc., then those posts tend to get less reach. With that said, you still can occasionally do link posts, and I would encourage you. I would encourage you to share your events or invite people to join your email list or promote your services and put a link to your website. We do want to do that some of the time on our content, on our social posts. LinkedIn has multiple content formats. So again, it's not quite as visually focused, but it does have images and videos. You can do videos up to 15 minutes long. You can also do live video as well. You can broadcast live video. You do need a third-party tool like StreamYard or other to do that. But if you do a live stream, then you can potentially do the videos can be longer there. It does have a good events feature as well, though I don't know how many people discover you from doing events. But in the past, I have used the events feature in the live video, and that was fun. They also have polls. You can do a text-only post, short or long, kind of similar to Facebook. You can write really long. You could write longer captions on your articles on LinkedIn, though again, if you want that ChatGPT AI search benefit, you might if you have a longer content, you might put it in the form of an article. So again, some format. You can certainly do regular horizontal videos, but also they are encouraging us to do shorter vertical videos, maybe up to a couple of minutes long. And like I said, I've got a couple videos that are still continuing to get some traction. The shelf life is a bit shorter for LinkedIn content, very similar to maybe a Facebook or Instagram, where you get about a week, maybe more, and which is a good tip for promoting your events as well. If you're promoting events, don't just post it the day before an event because it takes time for people to see that content. So post your event at least a week beforehand. on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn so that it gives people a chance to see that you've got an event happening. One of the biggest cons for LinkedIn, your ideal clients just may not be active there. You know, if you're trying to reach a consumer and they're not necessarily interested in business networking, then they may not pick LinkedIn as one of their platforms of choice. So it may not be ideal for business to consumer brands and certainly less visual. They don't have any creative tools. There's no music on the platform. So if you upload a video and you want it to have music, you need to have added the music to your edited video before you upload it. Yeah, and that's it for LinkedIn. TikTok demographics. Use has grown in Canada despite political uncertainty. 60% of users use it daily and spend a lot of time consuming videos. The top it's the top platform for under age 35. The largest user group in Canada is age 25 to 34. So it still dominates for under age 35, with the top groups being Gen Z and millennials. Not as popular with Gen X and boomers, but the most significant growth is still coming from the older age groups. So again, it's growing. It's not something that I teach. Therefore, I'm not asked about it as much. There seems to be more interest in Instagram, which is why I focus more on that platform. With that said, I do have right on my website, and I do let people know that I do not teach TikTok. So maybe that's why I don't get asked very often, but I'd say there's certainly less interest in it from my audience. And you can follow accounts or content, but the primary focus, and really this is the brilliance of TikTok, is its For You page or FYP. They have really the best algorithm of all the social media channels in terms of helping create a feed with its algorithm of content that will be very, very interesting to you. It's very addictive. So if you start using TikTok and you watch, they tend to serve you some popular video content and they learn very quickly with these short vertical videos what you're interested in. And they basically tailor your feed to you, personalized to you very quickly. And it's yeah, fascinating to see what kind of content I get. Stuff about trends and mobile video editing and marketing. And so, yeah, so it's really interesting to see the kinds of content that they serve you. And even to this day, Facebook and Instagram are trying to copy that sentiment of trying to serve us stuff we're interested in. They're not nearly as good at it. And it will be interesting to see after the sale goes through in the US if the algorithm is as good or not. I've heard both things said. I've heard some people say that it could be an algorithm reset and it could be an amazing opportunity for businesses to gain traction and get more free organic reach. I've also heard some people say once the purchase happens, China's not given up the secret sauce, which is their amazing algorithm, and that it will go to heck and it will be terrible. The organic reach will. So I would say that it is also one platform where you have the most potential to go viral. Okay, so you can have a post go viral. Now, going viral doesn't necessarily. I've had a few of my posts go viral. I think one has like 30,000. One of my posts about how to flip a photo or video on an iPhone, so an iPhone media tip went viral. It doesn't necessarily bring you the right attention for your business. I shared another post about how I almost lost my Facebook account, and that brought the attention of a lot of scammers who wanted to help me try and fix my Facebook problem. And you can actually look at on the videos and insights, and so there was a specific country that a lot of the comments came from. I won't do any. I won't mention the country, but yeah, it can be amazing. You can have a viral video and that brings a ton of business for your business, a ton of attention that actually helps you make sales in your business, but it can also bring a ton of useless attention on your videos as well. So the primary focus is on interests and entertainment on this platform. Here is the advertising audience, again from Data Reportal based on what TikTok's advertising platform. So you can see 25 to 34 years old is the largest. It might look like there's not really many people over age 35 here, but I want to put this into context here. So I'm on this next slide here. This was from a little graph from Affect Agency from the TikTok ads platform. And this was in August of 2025, this particular graph. And when you look at, so they've broken it out by age group. So this is specifically for Canada information. Female in sort of the 45 to 54 and the 55 plus age group. This is over 600,000 people and over 500,000 people. Or this, and that was female. So, as someone who targets women business owners, it could still be very relevant potentially for me to be on this platform and potentially make connections with other Canadian and US women business owners. So, just because, if we go back to this graph, you don't necessarily have to count TikTok out. And especially, remember I talked about that overlap. If there's somewhere that you love hanging out, that your audience also hangs out, if you love using TikTok, maybe you could choose that instead of Instagram for your business. And maybe that can be a better fit for you if you don't enjoy spending time on Instagram and you do enjoy spending time on TikTok. Also, you can see here this graph from eMarketer that shows the growth over time. You can see it's also mentioning some of the political issues that happened with TikTok. So it's continued to grow, and they project that it will continue to grow in Canada. Pros of TikTok: it's got good free editing, good free tools for editing, for creating videos and images. Um, I would say the image editing tools aren't quite as good as Instagram, but certainly the video editing tools are great. It is a video first platform. They've also got the fun commercial music on TikTok. So for folks that love to do trends and hop on all the popular music, then they do have that there as well, just like Instagram. The discoverability, so the keywords that you use for your videos and in your captions, that can potentially show up in search. So as I mentioned, I've got a few videos on my profile. I have a very small following, embarrassingly small following on my TikTok of probably less than 50 followers, but I've had a number of videos that did, get thousands of views, and it is specifically because people were searching for those topics in search on TikTok. So you can potentially, again, optimizing your content and get found by keywords on the platform. Also, TikTok videos can show up in Google search as well. And potentially large language model. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that yet, but more and more social content, posts from social channels or content from social channels is potentially showing up in things like ChatGPT and large language model search. I mentioned already the higher organic potential versus other channels. The audience is receptive to engaging with businesses. This is again a great channel for business to consumer. Useful for networking if your ideal clients are there. They also have the 24-hour disappearing stories, and they also have private messages on TikTok. You can also do targeted ads. This can be an alternative to Meta ads if you're wanting to diversify your paid ad spend. And you can still drive some traffic to your website, email sign up, event, etc., on business accounts. So you do have to set up a business account if you want to be able to have a link in bio. They still don't allow a link in your bio on personal TikTok accounts, as far as I know. Again, I'm not an expert on this particular topic. Don't know as much about it. They have multiple content formats similar to YouTube, very much video first, and not as aesthetic as Instagram. So I would say less pressure. I see people doing videos in their pajamas, like less people seem to care. Though some people on the flip side of that would also say that things are getting more competitive on TikTok. So people are upping their production quality value. It is primarily a vertical video platform, though it does have that full screen view. So if you want to share a traditional video, it is something where you can flip it. But primarily vertical video. You can do video up to 20 minutes long now. They've expanded that length, as has Instagram, by the way. Instagram now you can do, if your video on Instagram is 3 minutes or less, that's where you have that chance of it getting recommended in the Reels feed. But you can on Instagram now do video up to 20 minutes because they copied TikTok. You can now do video up to 20 minutes on TikTok now. So they have multiple content formats. You can, again, like Instagram, do some super short text posts, but really nobody uses that feature, and it basically turns your text post into a little image with a colorful background. The cons of TikTok: you must do videos to grow, and creating video is time consuming. Again, it's a more fast paced platform, so you have to do content consistently, and the shelf life is mostly shorter, dare I say, maybe even shorter than on Instagram, because well, it depends. For most posts I do, the shelf life is shorter. For those keyword related posts that I mentioned that potentially get found because someone's searching for how do I flip a photo on my iPhone, those videos do still seem to get some traction, but the majority of my content, it does seem to and after a certain point in terms of getting traction. There's no TikTok shop in Canada. I think that's a really important one. So if you are based in the US and you're watching this, get on TikTok shop, look into TikTok shop because lots of people are using that successfully, whether you're selling your own products or whether you're doing affiliate content, sharing products that you love to use and creating videos about that and marking yourself as an affiliate and potentially getting commissions on that. I think that's a very interesting opportunity. We don't have TikTok shop in Canada, and I've not heard any word on that potentially coming here. So I can't even say coming soon or anything. I will say there is a Shopify TikTok integration for merchants. So if you do sell physical products and you have a Shopify website, again, there's a cost to that. Then there is an integration where you could potentially connect that with TikTok Shop for Canada. So look into that if that's relevant to you. Certainly, another con is around the political uncertainty, which I have touched on. Want to just mention one more thing about that viral potential on TikTok. You don't need to build up a giant following. Like every video you post on TikTok could be a chance to go viral. So you don't necessarily have to have a certain level of following on TikTok to have that chance to have your content perform. Pinterest demographics for Canada. Pinterest is growing steadily in Canada, though only 23% of users use it daily. More women on this platform. So remember, I told you if that's relevant for the platform, I will tell you if there's more of one gender or another. So there are definitely more women on this platform. Um, and these are global. Actually, I can't recall if this was for Canada or this is actually for Canada. I think 71% women, 20% men, and the rest other on the platform in Canada. Reaches, and this was from Pinterest. We reach ages 18 to 44 in Canada. That was a quote from the Pinterest website. Top platform for millennials and growing with Gen Z. They're searching for lifestyle, home decor, fashion, beauty, wellness, travel, food, do it yourself, DIY, and crafts, hobbies, slower living ideas, etc. So it is less of a social channel and more of a visual search engine and discovery platform. So it's a great place to follow consumer trends. They also have boards. So each user can have their own boards and you can make the boards private. So many people will create private vision boards for planning future parties or events like a milestone birthday or a wedding. They might plan for a new job or a new home or a new baby, new pet. They might plan a board for a dream trip or a remodel project or even a calendar holiday like Halloween or Christmas. Now, they didn't have this exact same graph in the Canada Report for Data Reportal. So again, this kind of showed about 11 million people, according to Pinterest advertising platform. I'm not sure why it wasn't broken out the same way. So what I did was I also added the global use, because they did have the breakdown of age range here. And notice it does skew quite a bit more female and young. So we can see here the orange on this graph is all the female age ranges and really women of all ages. Of course, there are men on the platform as well, but it is more dominated by women. So I thought this was helpful to give you some context to share the global data. Pros and cons of Pinterest. The audience has strong buying intent. They're planning to buy. So again, this is a platform that's great for business to consumer brands. So if you sell physical products or even if you sell digital products, information products, it's also great for driving traffic to your website. As I showed in a previous slide, kind of Facebook and Pinterest were some of the top social platforms that successfully would drive traffic to a website. So whether it's to your physical or digital product pages, your email sign up or event, most pins have a link. Links are not discouraged like on other platforms. So you can certainly share some posts on Pinterest. Most posts are single image posts and they don't all have to have a link, but most pins or posts on Pinterest do have a link to somewhere because people usually want to click it and go check your e-commerce page and see how much that blouse was or piece of jewelry or whatever, or get the information on they click on a beautiful food picture, they want to click to the website and see the recipe, right? See the details of the ingredients they might need for the recipe, etc. So there is you can focus on sharing images, but sharing, according to the platform, they say sharing videos will increase engagement and traffic, but there's less pressure to do talking head videos. I didn't see as many of the talking head videos. It was more like how-to tutorials showing people how to do stuff, hacks, lots of home hack type of things. Certainly, they did say that high quality B-roll tutorials will perform better. So again, a bit more on the aesthetic side on Pinterest because people are, planning their vision boards of pretty things. So maybe more encouraged if you're doing how-tos to have some taking B-roll content or that would be like background footage. So getting some more pretty looking, nicer looking background footage to teach whatever it is that you want to teach that would potentially perform better. We have longer term discoverability on this platform, again, around keywords. So your content can continue getting views for months or even years. So, again, this is a platform that has a longer shelf life for your content. So, when you are sharing your content, if someone discovers, if you're actively pinning stuff and someone follows you and they happen to see something in their feed that you've pinned, and then suddenly they end up on your profile and suddenly they see how you've organized your boards and they're interested in a topic in one of your boards and they go on that board and they start looking through stuff and then they pin something to their profile, suddenly that pin has come back into life now and gone out to the feed of all their followers. So that content can certainly get brought back to life over and over again for that reason. Also, it can potentially show up in Google search as well, the pins. I've seen pins show up in Google search. You can do targeted ads in Pinterest, and they are certainly focusing on Canada, so that can be an alternative to Meta ads in Canada. And there are some limited creative editing features, but no music. So again, this is not a place that has really good create. It's not Instagram for that matter. Not Instagram or TikTok doesn't have those creative mobile editing features. Again, I mentioned the visual or aesthetic focus. There are multiple content formats, but not as many as other platforms. So really single image posts dominates on the platform, though you can do vertical videos. And the image posts tend to be tall. We want to have nice tall portrait or taller visual, can be like basically a 1350 by 1080 image, or it could be like the 1920 by 1080, the same size as like an Instagram story, for example. And then, of course, you've got your usual vertical videos there as well. The cons, it takes time to get traction there, to gain traction there, and optimize your posts. So where you might save time of not having to create video content, you're still going to have to spend the time, kind of like YouTube, of like figuring out what you're going to put for your description, researching keywords, and also the audience plans ahead for future purchases. So, for example, they start planning for Christmas in September. So it might not result in immediate sales for you. You may have to kind of look at the trends and plan ahead with what you're pinning for, reaching what the audience is planning for. They have intent to buy. They're creating their digital vision boards for what they want to buy for the future and not necessarily right now. Cons, so again, it takes time to gain traction. Not the best place for networking and relationship building. They do have DMs or private messages on the platform, but I don't even know if people look at if you're a heavy Pinterest user, let me know. Do you ever look at your private messages there? Do you share private messages? Maybe if you wanted to send a friend something cool, you might do that, but I don't think it's used in the same way that you would use it on Instagram in terms of DMing someone a link to your email sign up. Like it's not like that. So not necessarily the best platform for building relationships, and not ideal for all business types. It heavily favors certain topics, and I mentioned some in the previous slide. X or Twitter demographics for Canada, somewhere in the neighborhood of between 8 to 11 million users. There's not really good numbers from Twitter that I can tell, or at least there's differing opinions from different sources. It still has a significant audience in Canada. Notice my kind of irritated face. Use has grown slightly. So there was a large dip when Elon purchased the platform in October of 2022, but it recovered in Canada and it's still really useful. So I would say I'd certainly still use it because of the list function. It has an excellent um, list feature where you don't have to follow people, but you can actually put them on a list. So Canadian news, for example, US news, local Victoria, BC friends, social media trends. I've got all my lists created in X, and anytime I want to go look at the feed of just posts from the people that I've put on that feed, Again, it's avoiding the algorithm. It's basically the people that I want to follow. It's the content in chronological order from the people that I want to follow on those lists. So it's extremely useful feature. Even Threads, I don't believe, I shouldn't say that. I think Threads probably has added a list by now. I believe Threads have added lists, but I'll tell you when I go to look to see if someone's on Threads that I might want to add to my Canada politics list, they're often not there, but I do still find them on X, unfortunately. So then I add them to my Canada politics list on Twitter. 43% of users use the platform daily. There are more men on this platform. It's the largest user group in Canada, men ages 18 to 49. Under age 50 dominates, with Gen Z and millennials being the top groups there. Not as popular with women, and not as popular with Gen X and boomers. With all that said, it is still an excellent source of current real-time news and information, and lists are very useful for creating content streams, as I mentioned. Meta, also kind of known as Instagram's Threads tool, is gaining ground in Canada, but Blue Sky is still far behind. So that's a question I often get asked: is Threads going to replace X? So Threads, this little at sign logo here, is owned by Meta, or basically it's basically integrated with Instagram. So Instagram's Threads in Canada has grown significantly and continues to grow, but it is not coming close yet to keeping up with X. And then you can see Blue Sky. Blue Sky is more of a values-based platform, and there's certainly interest in it, but I would say certainly not even coming close to Threads. So if you're wanting an alternative to X, Instagram's Threads might be an option for you, but again, X is still very useful. This is information from X's advertising profile in terms of demographics. So again, you can see the red here is men. In this particular graph, men dominate. The next slide I want to share with you here is just kind of shows, this is a good graph from eMarketer that shows the dip after Elon, in early 2023 after Elon bought the platform, but it's slowly recovered. People are giving up. Another example I'll mention is I noticed someone on X complained. The city of Victoria had posted that it's gotten cold out lately, and they'd posted that there was something about a warming center, so a public service announcement of some sort for people who needed it. And it had been posted on Blue Sky, but the city account had made the values-based decision, I'm assuming, to stop posting on X. But they have 60,000 followers supposedly on X, but yet hardly any followers on Blue Sky. So a local person was complaining, I believe it was a local media personality was complaining, you're posting important information that the public needs to know over on Blue Sky where you have no followers, and yet, you should just post it on X, because then more people will get the important community information that they need. So who knows, maybe we'll continue to see more brands who abandoned Twitter coming back to Twitter because it's just still useful. On the other side of that, I have a few screenshots here. Just recently, and just this month, there was a big issue with the built-in AI tool in X is called Grok. It was allowing users to undress pictures of women. So you could take a picture of actually not just women, any person, and you could enter it into Grok and have it put that person in a bikini, or make that person undressed, etc. So there's been a big uproar about that. Elon he kind of joked about it. He made fun of it and he didn't take it seriously immediately, but he has now supposedly, gonna fix this issue of that Grok has been allowed to do this. So just a thought about why there may not be as many women on this platform. Pros and cons of X. It's excellent for networking if your ideal clients are there. Fast-paced conversation platform plus private messages. You can talk directly to others to build relationships and gain visibility. It's great if you enjoy writing and sharing your ideas and opinions and chatting with other people in real time. The audience may or may not post, so it might be harder to engage with them. So lots of lurkers like me. I stopped posting on X quite some time ago. But with that said, I still do log in maybe once a week, open up the app just to kind of check my news, look at my list, see if there's anything interesting. There are people that might want to follow your updates on there potentially. Also, some people expect to get customer service from businesses there. So it all depends on the business. Also, like I said, many businesses I've noticed have said, "We're no longer here. Come find us on, Facebook or Instagram or whatever." You can still do targeted ads, so it could be an alternative to Meta ads, more organic reach potentially if you have a paid account. So they do have an affordable $5 a month Canadian account that would potentially give you some more access to some more features and some more reach. You can still potentially drive some traffic, easier to create content. It can be short text only posts, less pressure to do talking head videos, though I certainly do see some of those on there. They do have a vertical video feed that you can access there. So if you tap on any video on your feed on Twitter, you'll see there is a swipe up vertical video feed. And they do have multiple formats. So text only. For the free account, it's up to 280 characters max. So again, you can do a tweet thread where you attach more than one tweet if you've got something longer to say. Images still a bit limited for images. You can only have up to 4 photos on a post. Videos, major drawback on the free account, they only let you upload videos that are 720p. So you do have to do that $5 a month account to be able to upload a higher quality 1080p video. And also you could do longer posts. So if you did the paid account, you could have up to 25,000 characters. So you could do more blogging there. Cons, the super short shelf life for your post. It's a very fast-paced environment, like the shelf life of a tweet is like there and it's gone. So unless someone went to look at your profile and see your past content, basically you're out of sight, out of mind. You're not visible if you're not posting a lot. And many people post multiple times a day. That can be a lot of pressure for a small business owner. You need to post frequently and engage consistently to grow. It's a less visual platform, so no creative tools or editing features or music. But I did mention it has a video feed. It can be also noisy and emotionally draining, strong opinions, controversial topics, and conflict. So sometimes there are brand safety concerns. And for these reasons, that's why some, city accounts or brands did abandon the platform. But, we'll see if they come back or not. Many have come back, as you saw from that graph. It's not ideal for all businesses. It heavily favors news, politics, trends, tech, sports, finance, startups, etc. Just one more thing about Twitter, I'll say it's still the top place in the world for journalists, news organizations, industry leaders, world leaders, politicians, and government organizations. As I mentioned, if I go to look for someone on Threads to see if they're there, they're often not there and they're still on X. Okay, moving on. Reddit is, I believe this is the last one I'm going to dive into in detail. Thank you for sticking with me for this long. I know this has been a very long presentation. Reddit demographics for Canada. Reddit has a significant audience in Canada and growing steadily. It's the fourth most visited website in Canada and third largest market for Reddit, like for Reddit, the platform, by internet traffic. We have 22 million weekly active users in Canada. 40% use the platform daily. And again, I didn't have exact Canada numbers on this, so I put some global numbers in here for context. Approximately 60% of users are men, 30% are women, 10% other. The largest user group is under age 35, so Gen Z and millennials. It is a community and conversation platform focused on niche topics and shared interests. So it's more like an old school forum with groups, and the groups are called subreddits. And a really major difference from Reddit versus all the other social platforms is you're not required to use your real name. It can be a little brutal. People are brutally honest here at times, even to a point where if you ask a question I follow a couple of I don't go often in Reddit, but I follow a couple of local subreddits for my community. One's called Victoria, BC. I have seen people ask a question in the forum and in the group, and then other people said, "That's a question you could have Googled," and given them heck for asking something that they could have either searched in the group. So you're encouraged to actually search your question in that subreddit first to see if there's already been a conversation about it or that question's already been answered, or Google it yourself. So it can be a little bit mean. They can be a little bit mean in there sometimes. But again, I'm not an expert in this platform, so please come at me and tell me if you love Reddit and you think Reddit's an amazing, welcoming, supportive community that you enjoy your community. Tell me more about that so I can learn more about it. It's a great place to follow news and trends. It's the only platform that has a unique up and down vote feature that surfaces interesting content. So many of the platforms have a like function or a thumbs up function, but few have or none, aside of Reddit, have a down vote function, like a thumbs down function. Let's see, I think at one point Twitter tried to add that, but it's not there anymore. At one point, Facebook played with it. I saw it on a Facebook post once and then it disappeared. So Reddit is the main one that has this feature. They're known for this, and it does tend to surface interesting content. So it's a great place to follow trends. This was also from the Data Reportal report, suggesting that they had an audience of 43.1. That does not even make sense to me. And even in the Data Reportal report, they put a little advisory in there that they are aware that this is in excess of the 100% of the eligible population. So, but they chose to publish this data as is. So this was, I guess, data they got from the Reddit platform. So what I did was the same thing I did for Pinterest, is I put the global graph in here. So this is not for Canada. This is for the whole world. But just to give some context in terms of users, they skew young and male and more men. So the red here is more men in age. This is age 16 to 24 and age 25 to 34. But all the way up to age 54, you can see it is more male. Though, from one source that I looked at, it told me women small business owners used Reddit. So if you're a woman small business owner in Canada and you use Reddit and you love it, please tell me more about that, because I would love to learn either what subreddits you love that are great, or what you appreciate from using the platform. I certainly am someone that loves to follow trends and news, so I do pop in from time to time into the Reddit app to check that out. The other reason there's been a renewed interest in Reddit is due to this. It's been said that in addition to YouTube, it's one of the top, so some of the kind of the top sources that ChatGPT and other AI chat tools, large language models are, these search tools are recommending content from, or, that's how you're getting discovered. So I wanted to just mention this graph here. This is a graph from SEMrush from June 2025. So this is global. And the top domains cited in pink here, I'm going to read to you because I know it's impossible to see this. But as I mentioned, if you want to join my email list and you request a copy of the slides, I'll be glad to share the PDF copy of the slides with you, the PDF document. So the top domains in pink here: Reddit, Wikipedia, YouTube, Google.com, and Yelp are supposedly some of the top cited domains in these AI tools. The next two in yellow are Facebook and Amazon.com. And then farther down in the yellow here, we see also Instagram, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. So I think that's an interesting trend, that social search has been an ongoing trend for a while, and more people, especially the younger generations, they just skip Google and they search for stuff right on social channels. But also they're searching, people are certainly of my demographic are searching for stuff on ChatGPT, is the one that dominates in Canada. And that tool, ChatGPT, is citing or getting their information from some of these sources. So that's why there's been such a renewed interest in Reddit, is because there are all these reports coming out from SEO experts saying that Reddit is a top cited source for these AI tools. So something to consider for your marketing strategy in 2026. Pros and cons. It is a community and conversation platform on niche topics and interests. I mentioned more like an old school forum or groups called subreddits. There is some purchase intent and there are private messages. So, but be careful. Remember, I mentioned they're mean there. We don't want to go in and just promote ourselves there. We want to join the group. We want to listen for a long time. We want to, be helpful. We want to jump in if we get asked. If someone gets, asked something about your brand or a question, you can answer and be helpful by all means. But you don't want to go in and just promote yourself. It will not go over well. It's a good place for listening and learning about an audience. What questions did they ask? What challenges do they have around your topic? What are their pain points? And I mentioned already the AI visibility. There's also potential for longer shelf life for the post, because in addition to the AI chat tools, I didn't mention Reddit content shows up a lot in just regular old fashioned Google search and other search channels, search engines. So that's if there's something mentioning your brand and your brand gets searched, that could potentially show up in search. So that can also allow for, to get discovered. If there's a post relating to your brand, someone recommending your brand, that post can potentially show up in search if someone was researching researching your business brand name. That can be good and it can be bad depending on what the post was about. It can also be an alternative to Meta ads. You can do targeted ads here, and Reddit is really stepped up in Canada, and they're wanting to encourage business owners to do ads, so they've got lots of resources there. Also easier to create content. So again, if you're someone that likes to engage in conversations, share your opinion, chat with others, there's like long, deep conversations in these groups. That's encouraged. So it's not somewhere where there's as much pressure to share. There certainly are people sharing images and videos, usually more like memes, funny videos, jokes, that type of thing, less just an image like promoting your services for your business. Like people don't do that there. You can do text only posts, images, videos, polls, and it must be posted to a subreddit. So you do have to join these groups. You have to join at least one group in order to participate there. And that's when you post, it does show up on your profile, but you have to, when you go to post something, you have to select which group you're going to post to. As I mentioned, use it with caution. It can if you get if you have some good luck and someone mentions that they loved the experience with your brand and they post a link, I will tell you my travel brand. Someone had asked in a Reddit forum about our particular I work for a travel brand that sells Galapagos cruises, and they have some particular yachts, and one of them's named the Cachalote Explorer, and someone had actually asked on the forum in Reddit about had anyone traveled on this particular boat, and one of our past customers had. And she commented that she had a really positive experience with our brand, and she put the link to our website. And I found that Reddit post because I looked in the analytics on our website, the Google Analytics on our website, and I was like, how are we getting found in Reddit? And I went back and traced it back to that particular post. So it could potentially bring some good traffic to your site. But again, it's better if someone else mentions you, like a past client, and not you just talking about you or one of your employees. So also be transparent. If you have an employee that's answering questions, make sure, and it's just showing their personal name, make sure they say, I work for this company, and you're not leaving that out because they won't appreciate that either. Also, people can read content on, so a similar problem to YouTube where people can consume some content from Reddit because it showed up in a Google search, or they just went to the website, and you don't necessarily have to be logged in. It's not the best place for networking necessarily. Also, people often don't use their real name. I did use my real name when I set up an account, but many people do not. They've got anonymous, like, pseudonyms. So if you can't find them, or if they're not posting, if they don't have anything on their profile, they're not posting any content, it can be challenging to engage with people. And it also can be time consuming to watch for chances, to jump into that conversation and build your relationship where you can more directly promote yourself on other platforms. So, to wrap up this presentation, I want to mention a few niche social media channels. So, I don't have nearly as much detail on these platforms, but I thought they were worth mentioning. So, if you find there's something that really piques your interest and you want me to dive deeper into, let me know in the comments. I've got Snapchat listed here, and I know some people may argue with me that this is one of the more popular or top platforms in Canada versus just being a niche channel, but I'm putting it here. So I'm gonna stand my ground on that. I'm putting Snapchat as a niche channel because it's a very specific and also young audience. So Snapchat is a multimedia messaging app focused on quick temporary photo and video sharing, also known as snaps, that disappear after viewing. Or they do also have the 24-hour stories feature. Matter of fact, that's where Instagram and TikTok stole the disappearing 24 hour. First, Instagram stole their disappearing 20. Actually, to take even a step back, Meta tried to buy Snapchat for $1 billion, and they said no. Thank you. Can you believe that? They stood their ground. And so Meta said, you know what? We're going to steal your 24-hour stories feature, and there's not much you can do about it. And they put it in Instagram and they put it on Facebook, and then TikTok copied it after that. So they pioneered that 24-hour stories disappearing content. They also have spotlight content, which is, again, now they copied TikTok. Snapchat copied TikTok, and they've got the short vertical video feed. They call that the spotlight content. Known for its camera first design, they have all the kind of the playful filters. So you see they have so many filters, but when someone turns themselves into a dog, that kind of thing, that's Snapchat for you. Low pressure, very popular with teens and young adults. And here's a quote: Snapchat is where users communicate with their closest 10 to 15 friends, and the top audience is under age 35 for sure. limited organic discovery for business, and it's got a super short shelf life for your content. As you can imagine, if it disappears, you don't have a long shelf. So it's not ideal for most service-based businesses. So for that reason, I'm going to keep it in the niche social media channels for Canada. The next one I want to mention is Substack. This has been super growing in popularity. It's a newsletter platform that allows writers, creators, and small business owners to publish email newsletters, build an audience, and even monetize their content through paid subscriptions. Think of it as email marketing meets content publishing. Your newsletter becomes a direct line to your readers without relying on social algorithms. So it's actually listed as a news app in the Apple App Store, which I thought was interesting. So it started as a written newsletter platform, like a long form written newsletter platform, but it has evolved to be a social media, more of a multimedia social platform. And especially in 2025, they added quite a few new features like doing live video. You can even do live audio only to your audience. And they call it a social layer called Substack Notes. So you can also do just social posts now. So you don't even have to write a long newsletter anymore, though that was what the platform originally started as. You can still write longer newsletters and you can do shorter social posts now. The big difference for this platform is they let you keep the email addresses of your subscribers. So that's hugely different than any other social platform because we're always just guests on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn. Like we're just guests there. We're renting space. We do not own anything. So that's why you still always want to have your own website and build your own email list. But with this platform, Substack, they are allowing you to keep the email addresses. And they do have an option where you can offer your content free, but you can also have a paid level where you can have people who sign up to support your paid offering. Substack will, of course, take 10% of cut of that. Some people even use it as their own website. So if you're a small business owner just getting started and you don't have the budget or the technical knowledge to get set up with a website yet, then this can be a way you can use this as your website or even a podcast. If you've started a podcast and you don't want to create a website that's just for the podcast, this can be a place that can be the home of your podcast where you can put your episodes as well as put your show notes, as well as have that opportunity for the audience to follow you there. So if you use that as a home base for your podcast, you could say on your podcast, connect with our Substack, follow us on Substack, and then they could, comment on a specific episode of the podcast. So that could be pretty useful. And like I said, they've continued to add new features. The next one I want to mention here is Discord. Discord is a community building platform that combines real time chat, voice, and video features. It was originally built for gamers, but it's now used by more types of businesses, creators, and niche communities. So it's basically it's an alternative to Facebook groups. I would say there's no algorithm but also no discovery. So if you created a Discord group, you would basically have to promote it to get people to come join you there. So there's no algorithm. They're going to potentially see all your content. So gamers would just hang out there. So you didn't have to participate at a certain time. People could just kind of drop in, hang out, chat with people, whether it be video or audio or text, and then they can leave the group anytime they want. So there could be shared experience where you're watching videos together, or perhaps you're playing games together and you're basically hanging out together online. Slack, on a similar note, is also a private community platform where there's no algorithm. So if someone joins your Slack community or your Slack group, then they're going to see all your content potentially. It's more of a team communication and collaboration platform, more designed for corporate. It's more for businesses and organizations, like a chat app for work. Of course, there's a mobile app as well that goes with it. So people can share files and communicate about different topics. They've got topics organized for business communication in there. And there is a free version of it, but the features are pretty limited. So if you love that platform, you're going to tend to probably upgrade to the paid version, which I think starts at maybe somewhere less than $10 a user per month. So it's not traditionally used for public social media marketing. It could maybe be if you want to have a community that you build. If you have a tech savvy, I'd say for both Discord and Slack, if you have a really tech savvy audience, those could be potentially places that you build a community. But if you're like me, my folks, I'm teaching them tech tips and they're not. I personally did try I have used Slack for various work projects, I liked Slack. I found it easier to learn, but Discord, I felt totally lost. It's not as user friendly in terms of the user interface, and I really couldn't figure it out. I had to have my nephew explain to me a little bit about Discord and how it worked. So yeah, so maybe not as useful for Slack would probably be more for all ages because it's more for corporate. Discord, I would say, tends to have a younger audience, and you may have more of a challenge getting a 40 plus audience to join your private community on Discord. There are private messages on both Slack and Discord as well. Meetup is another popular tool. I used Meetup years ago when I was teaching at my local community college. They had been doing a local, monthly free education on social media to help drum up interest in the community education paid classes. And we ended up doing a meetup group, and that way it showed up in search more, and we grew the group exponentially by having a meetup group. With that said, I believe they've increased the price of it. Last time I checked on Meetup, it was about $300 a year to have your own meetup group. But if you're a consumer, you can certainly be a free Meetup user and find interesting. I just peeked at it again today as I was preparing for this presentation, and I found a number of interesting groups that a person, if you're new to town or if you want to network for business, there's all kind of groups happening there that you could go and meet real people in real life. And you can communicate with them on Meetup as well, but that's the goal of Meetup, is to get people to connect in person. I briefly mentioned already Threads by Instagram, aka Meta, owned by Facebook, Meta, and also Blue Sky. Blue Sky I didn't mention it was created by one of the founders of Twitter, but I would say these are still both niche networks in Canada, with Threads being certainly more popular. When I look at the trending apps on the Apple App Store for Canada, I notice Nextdoor is showing up. And so I wanted to include Nextdoor. It is a hyper-local community platform designed to connect people with others who live and work in the same neighborhood. Think of it as a digital neighborhood bulletin board, part community forum, part local recommendations, part word of mouth engine. And a key difference here, users must use their real name and verify their address. So there's a high level of trust on Nextdoor because people have to prove who they are. So when someone makes a recommendation about a business, then you know they're a real person in your local community. And I believe there's a reviews feature. When I looked, haven't installed Nextdoor, have not used it, but when I looked on the Apple App Store, it said there were 56,000 reviews across Canada. How many there would be in your town or your neighborhood, I don't know. You'd have to log in, start an account, and check it out. But it could be very useful, very geared to service providers as well. So if you're a service provider and you target hyperlocal in your community, it could be an interesting networking opportunity. Please let me know if you're using Nextdoor, or if you try Nextdoor and you really like it, it's been useful for you and your business. Let me know what you think. While growing, the Nextdoor audience in Canada skews older. So there are more Gen X and boomers on the Nextdoor app, and maybe not as popular with under age 35. I want to give a little nod to Alignable here. This is one that I've had a number of people mention to me that they've had really good success with. It's like a hyper-local LinkedIn based on groups, referrals, and question and answer. So you won't find as much consumers on Alignable. It's more like business networking, so business to business. So if you're a business owner and you're wanting to connect with other business owners to get referrals, that's what this platform is for. And it's geared to service providers. So again, if you're someone that uses Alignable, if it's brought you business, tell me what you think. Comment below to let me know what you think of this tool. I want to mention Telegram because it's also one that's used in Canada. This is a private messaging app, so a secure messaging app with broadcast channels and groups. It tends to be kind of a more tech-savvy crowd that would use this one. There's no discovery, so you're not going to get found on Telegram. You would have to promote it. You'd have to say, we're on Telegram, we're sending broadcast updates. So again, when I mentioned broadcast channel before, that's that one-to-many opportunity. So unlike a group chat where people can talk back to you, they can basically engage with some of the things you post. So if you posted an update, they could but they can't comment back to you. So it doesn't get as messy like a group chat when you're just sending out updates. So it's for people that might be interested in your updates. The main benefit is it's not tied to a phone number like WhatsApp. So you can keep your number private. So if you were the person starting the Telegram channel, to share updates with someone, you wouldn't have to share your phone number, where if you're on WhatsApp, you do they're gonna publicly know your phone number. For me, I have my phone numbers public on my website anyway, so that's public knowledge. So I'm probably more likely to use a WhatsApp, but if for some reason you want to keep that private, Telegram could be an option. Again, it might be more challenging to get your audience to use Telegram if they're not already using it, which leads me to WhatsApp. So everyone already knows WhatsApp, and it certainly would be considered a social channel, but it's not necessarily something businesses have used as much in Canada. But saw something interesting, and I don't know if there's anything to it, but I noticed they are on their blog, they talked about opening up the broadcast channels more to more people. So I did look, and if you open up your WhatsApp, so if you're a WhatsApp user like me, I would say WhatsApp use has certainly grown in Canada significantly. WhatsApp was I'll take a step back. In North America, Facebook has dominated and Facebook's private message function, the Messenger app, has also dominated in North America historically. But in the rest of the world, it was WhatsApp. So when I traveled to India, when I traveled to Ecuador, South America, everybody uses WhatsApp. So you would communicate with people using WhatsApp and not Messenger. With that said, what Facebook did, now known as Meta, they bought WhatsApp years and years ago so that they now dominate private messaging. Great way for them to gather information about us. Of course, the other benefit of WhatsApp is also end-to-end encrypted. And I believe Messenger is encrypted now, but it wasn't always. This is very interesting that they're opening up these broadcast channels in WhatsApp. If you're familiar with that WhatsApp, if you use it, you would be used to seeing the chat feature. That's where your private messages are with your friends or business connections. But if you click over to this update section in the far left, you'll notice they have what they're calling status, the equivalent of 24-hour stories, though I don't see anyone using them. I followed a few channels. I followed some. It was hard to even kind of find channels that are active right now. I followed a few channels the ones that were relevant to Canada, that were actively posting content in there, and none of them were doing these 24-hour status updates, but they are actively posting. So you can follow channels as a user, consumer, you can follow whatever channels you want or leave, like unsubscribe anytime. And the neat thing that I really like is that this is totally separate from your chats. So the reason I think there's a focus on this right now, and again, this is just me guessing, I believe ads are coming to WhatsApp, but I believe they're going to do them totally separate over here in the updates tab so that it's not disruptive to the chats. I believe they would have a consumer revolt if they tried to stick ads inside our WhatsApp chats. So the ads are going to be focused over here. So what they're going to do now is start encouraging for businesses and brands to share content here, but also for consumers to follow those businesses and brands there, because then they'll have some attention there. Therefore, they can stick ads there, and that can be another ad placement that we can purchase and use, and that they can make money. So coincidentally, this is Mark Zuckerberg's WhatsApp channel, which was opened in 2023 sometime, but he didn't post on it until December 31st of 2025, a selfie, and saying he put some comment of over 100 billion messages are sent through WhatsApp on New Year's Eve, adding mine to the mix. So why did Mark Zuckerberg suddenly post on his WhatsApp broadcast channel? This is my guess of all this. So I think this could be really interesting for businesses that want to have an alternative. Even if you're a brand where you're like, you know what, I'm just done with email marketing. I don't want to do email marketing. I would still encourage you to do email marketing because you own that list. But if for whatever reason you don't want to do email marketing, or say you have a younger audience, maybe under age 35, that they don't want to sign up for your email marketing list, this could be another way that you could potentially do a broadcast channel. There doesn't seem to be, I shouldn't say that. I don't know how many connections I have on my WhatsApp, but I was able to go into the updates tab, and in the very top left, these little dots just above update, it gave me the opportunity to create a broadcast channel. So I don't know, I didn't follow the steps to actually create a broadcast channel. I'm going to do a little bit more research because they do also have a business WhatsApp app. And then finally, to finish this niche conversation here, I've noted Gander up in the top right-hand corner of this slide. Gander is a homegrown Canada social media app that's currently in development right now. They decided to do a fundraiser and they raised $1 million from small investments from potential users. And they're just basically testing the app in beta right now. They haven't really rolled it out to the public yet. Of course, I've added myself to the early request list, and I even filled out a little form to say, how much time I could spend, using the app and that kind of thing. I'm really looking forward to trying it out. It's going to be based in Canada. All the data will be stored on Canadian servers. All the policy content the policies will follow the Canada Privacy Commission guidelines. So it's very much a values-based app. It'll be somewhat similar to Facebook where you'll be able to have a profile and you'll be able to share updates. I believe there's going to be groups, but like I said, I don't have access to it yet. So I'm very much looking forward to getting access, playing around with it, maybe even doing some tutorial videos to let other people know about it. And the plans, I think, long term for it, I believe they don't want to have ads. So I do hope, because that changes things when you add ads, right? Then the motivation's different for the business, especially if they go public, then they're tied to the shareholders and they're just focused on making money and it's less about user benefit and creating value for users. So they do seem to have all the right intentions here. My fingers are crossed. They seem to have raised money from users, though I know it takes a lot of money. So I hope that they roll out a paid monthly offering where you can choose, like YouTube, to pay X amount per month, support the platform. I'd be glad to do that. And then you get the use of the platform without ads. So I've got good hopes for this platform, but it's still not even quite out yet, Gander, but Gander, Gander, if you want to check that out. Very promising. One last thing to mention about Gander is I do believe they have plans to expand globally. So though it will be a Canadian-based company, they do plan to expand globally beyond Canada, but they're starting in Canada. So it will be a Canada first project. Happen to have access to a couple of the other. I'm not going to go into detail on this, but the data reportal report did have both Snapchat and Threads advertising data. So I did put that in these slides here if you wanted to check that out. Again, men and women versus age groups. And here is for Threads, a little more information here, but that's about it. Now I'm going to take us back to these original 2 slides that I shared with you. When you're thinking about what channels to choose, after I gave you all that information, all that demographic and various information, I want you to circle it back to where can you connect with your ideal audience and where is that overlap? Like what channels do you like to use and where is your audience hanging out online? Even where do they where do they love to consume video content versus where do they like to hang out with friends or network? So you also have to think about where do you already have friends or followers built up? Now, you may still say, even though I have 1,200 followers built up on LinkedIn, for example, you know what? It's just not the right fit for me at this time. So I'm not going to focus on that channel. So it's not the be all end all, but it is certainly a consideration. Also, what type of content will you create? So you're going to think about creating some content over time. Will it be video? Will it be written? Will it be images? Like what makes sense for you with your strengths, your skills, and or budget? If you're going to be hiring help for some of this, what can you do consistently? And then I'll take you back to one of my best time management tips, and my big challenge for you is to choose 2 social networks to focus on. Go deeper into those social networks. It's not just posting content, it's also building relationships with people. So not only responding to them when they send you a private message or they comment on your posts, but also doing the same for them, maybe posting on their content, maybe proactively sending private messages to build relationships with people, really using all the features of the platform. Most people on Facebook business page, for example, they just post image posts and they haven't tried doing 24-hour stories or doing video content or doing the text only post with the colorful background, right? So there's all these different posts that you can try. So fully using all the features and benefits of the platform and going deeper in building relationships on 2 platforms. Take action. Make a list of your top sort of 12 to 20 clients. Do some research to see if you can find them on the social channels you're considering focusing on. Are they active there? And if you don't know how to do that, let me know. Perhaps that could be a future video of how to check and see if your potential clients or your past clients are active on a social channel. You can also consider sending them a survey to see what you can learn about their social media channel use and their content preferences. If you, I've got a survey that I have created in Google Forms. Let me know if that's of interest. I've made a template, so it is something you could potentially copy into your own Google Forms account and then tailor it to suit your own needs. But only send that survey out to those top 12 to 20 clients. Do not just put that survey on your social media and say, hey, friends, let me know what you're interested in. Because you're not interested in random people that never do business with you. You're only interested in those people who have been past clients or clients you'd like to work with. Maybe they're folks that you've met with that just haven't hired you yet. They're not quite ready for your services yet, but you want to learn more about them. So send that survey only specifically to those folks. And I'll just pop over to this next slide here. This is kind of what my template looks like. So it's something that, like I said, you could just potentially copy and put in your own account. The other thing I'll bring you back to as well is Spark Toro. It's an audience research tool. I believe it's about $50 US a month for the paid version, but they have a free account. The free account is fairly limited in what they let you see, but they've just recently updated their tool to add a really cool, easier to use audience research function. And I just checked to see if I could access it because I'm just using the free account. It's again limits the data a little bit and you only get to do, 3 searches a month on your free account or whatever that amount is. But here's what it looks like. I'll pop over to the next slide here. This is their new tool. It says describe your audience. So they've integrated this new function now that allows you to describe your audience in natural language. And so, I put in my little description here about I work with women, solopreneur, service professionals, small business owners who tend to be coaches, consultants, helpers, healers, spiritual coaches, etc., and then it even let me adjust by country. So right now it does have Canada and the US there. And then so I selected Canada and I clicked create report. Again, it was just a little 2-page report and doesn't give you all the data, but it did show me the social channels that my ideal audience uses and also the tools that people in my ideal audience use to search. So this is kind of interesting for me, for women solopreneurs in Canada who are 40 plus. It brought up YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Reddit as the top social channels. Kind of surprised to see Reddit there, but again, with all that I shared about Reddit, it is something that's growing in Canada. Very interesting. So with that, I know we covered a ton of information in this presentation. So if you have any questions about anything that we've covered, please let me know. I'm Julie Selby with Sandy Social Marketing Training. I have my social media training businesses based in Victoria, BC. I serve clients in both the US and Canada. I do private lessons for small business owners. Love helping to support you get more comfortable with creating content and managing your own social media channels, and particularly helping people get started with video, helping people move forward with creating video content for their social media, because I know that's a whole challenge. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to watch this very lengthy trends presentation on the pros and cons and demographics of the social media channels that are relevant to small business owners in Canada. Thanks for watching.